That year, when Chen also handed me a red rose in the hallway, I was 18. Later, I found out that he had bet with someone to win over the quietest girl in the class. Is one flower enough? The answer is sufficient. One flower stole my entire youth. The admission spot was given up. The offers from other provinces were declined. All of my life's choices revolved around him for 4 years. On the day he left for abroad, I hid in a corner of the airport lobby, holding the couple's rings I had bought with my part-time earnings over 3 months. I want to say that even in a foreign land, I'm willing to wait for you, until he posted on his social media. Finally free. The accompanying image is a photo of the boarding gate and Meng Qing together. I went through all his posts from the past 4 years. Over 200 photos. And not a single one of me in them. I walked home in a daze, unable to tell whether the tears on my face were from sorrow or rain. It was raining heavily that day, and there were many cars on the road. When I opened my eyes again, the ceiling had turned into the peeling ceiling of a classroom. With the fan spinning noisily, someone at the back of the seat poked me in the back. Wake up. There's a guy in the hallway looking for you. He seems to be holding a flower in his hand. The pen at the back of the desk poked again. Gu Wanning. Really? That super handsome guy. A whole crowd is gathered around him. The fan whirred noisily, causing the edges of the papers to curl upwards. Someone outside the window is playing basketball. The dull thuds of the ball hitting the hoop keep coming one after another. Chalk dust floated in the beam of light. 2 girls in the front row were secretly taking photos with their phones. It's not a dream. I took a deep breath and stood up, resting my hands on the desk. The noise in the hallway grew louder and louder. Those who made noise, whistled, and shouted come out. In my past life, whenever I heard these voices, my heart would beat so fast I could hardly breathe. I felt like the luckiest person in the world. Right now, I just feel a coldness in my stomach. At the end of the hallway, Qingyi was leaning against the wall. The school uniform zipper was pulled halfway up. The sleeves were rolled up to reveal the forearms. The right hand casually held a red rose. When he saw me come out, he pushed his shoulder against the wall and smirked slightly. In his past life, he also smiled like this. Sunlight fell on his shoulders, full of youthful vigor. The entire corridor seemed to focus its light upon him. It's really nice looking. Here, for you. He handed the flower forward. I looked at that rose. The edges of the petals had wilted a bit. Probably because he'd been holding them in his hands for a while. These things, I never noticed in my past life. At 18, all I could see were the silhouette of a young boy against the light and the hand that was extended toward me. I reached out and took the flower. He raised his eyebrow. I turned the rose in a different direction, took 2 steps forward, lifted the lid of the trash can at the end of the hallway, then let go. The sound of the flowers falling in was very soft. The lid snapped shut. Qinye's smile froze at the corners of his mouth. Don't like flowers. He tilted his head slightly, trying to keep his tone relaxed. Don't like it. I swallowed the second half of the sentence back. I also don't like people who give flowers anymore. A laugh, unable to be held back, came from behind. I know who it is without even turning around. Meng Qing leaned against the classroom doorframe, her fingers playing with a strand of hair. Wow. Someone actually threw Qinye's flowers away. Gu Wanning. That's quite creative of you. Zhou Yin chimed in from behind. That's exactly it. They seem quiet and unassuming on the surface, but turn out to be great at playing tricks. A few boys were whistling. Someone whispered in a taunting tone. Isn't this just playing hard to get? In my past life, if I heard such things, I'd hide in a bathroom stall and cry until I couldn't get enough air. The first thing I learned later on was that crying in front of others is the most useless thing in the world. Right now, I just find it noisy. During the remaining time of the self-study session, glances came from all directions. Meng Qing was whispering in Zhou Yan's ear at the front row, occasionally glancing back at me. I kept my head down, focusing on the questions, trying not to pay attention to those stares. When the bell rang for the end of class, a pair of hands rested on the edge of my desk. It's Qin Yi. He bent down close, and the familiar, refreshing scent from his school uniform collar reached his nose. "You're the first person to throw my flowers away." There was no annoyance in his eyes. Instead, they lit up for a moment. "Pretty interesting. The flowers aren't good." I kept my eyes on the textbook, without looking up. "What do you suggest then?" I lifted my eyelids. In my past life, when I looked at him, my eyes were filled with affection and admiration. In this lifetime, he's probably only seen indifference. "Nothing is good." He froze for a second, then laughed. "Okay." His tone rose at the end. "Well then, I won't give flowers. I'll just say goodbye." The boys in the back row are making noise again. Meng Qing's gaze shifted from his back to my face, with an ambiguous smile on her lips. The summer outside the window was unbearably hot, with the cicadas' chirps filling the air. I wrote the date in a blank corner of the draft paper and circled it carefully. In my past life, I wandered around, chasing after the shadow of him. In this lifetime, these 300+ days belong to me alone. Qin is also more enthusiastic than in his past life. His kindness toward me used to come naturally to him. On my way past the cafeteria, I grabbed a loaf of bread. On rainy days, I throw my school uniform jacket over my shoulders. In my past life, I was truly overwhelmed with emotion. The bread bag had absorbed the warmth of his palms. I kept it for 3 days before I felt willing to throw it away. After being rejected, those casual actions all became deliberate ones. On Monday, he appeared next to my seat, with a cup of warm soy milk on the table corner. I picked it up and threw it into the trash can. On Wednesday, he climbed through the window into the classroom during morning study time. In front of the whole class, he placed a bag of breakfast on my desk. I then passed it to the person sitting at the back of the classroom. By Friday, he simply sat down across from me in the cafeteria, with his plate in hand. He's become smarter. In public places, I don't like to argue or get into conflicts. "Have you eaten yet?" He picked up a shrimp ball and pushed it towards me. "I brought your portion." The cafeteria is at its most crowded during this time. People at the tables around us secretly took photos with their phones. A girl was peeking over here while sucking on a straw. "No need." I pushed back the plate he brought over. "What's wrong?" "Don't like shrimp." "I won't eat someone else's food without loving them." "What do you mean? Eating for free?" He's not some stranger after all. "Qin Yi, I'm not familiar with you." It became quiet around them for a moment. Someone let out a huh. His hand holding the chopsticks paused for a moment. Qin also won't put himself in an awkward situation in front of others. This is true in both past and present lives. He quickly smiled again, leaned back, and took the plate away. "All right then." She was still smiling while speaking, but that smile was different from before. Someone who's been spoiled since childhood simply puts aside whatever's within reach, and only focuses on what's out of reach. In my past life, it was too easy for me to get what I wanted. He didn't even need to say anything. I just ran over on my own. In this lifetime, I won't run anymore. That evening during self-study, Meng Qing, as the class monitor, stood at the podium to announce the group assignments for the provincial competition. The classroom was noisy. She tapped the desk twice to get everyone to be quiet. This competition requires team registration. Teams should consist of 3 to 4 members, with teams formed freely. "Please submit the team lists to me by next Friday." She paused for a moment, her gaze casually sweeping over my face. "Of course. Students with stronger skills will definitely be in high demand. Everyone should make their decisions as soon as possible." In his past life, on the day of registering for the provincial competition, Qin Yi also said he didn't plan to participate. Finding it uninteresting, I said, "Then I won't go either." Actually, I spent 2 months preparing the materials. The printed papers filled up almost half of the desktop. Throw it all away. Later, I found out that he didn't participate because Meng Qing signed up for another program, and he went with her. This time is different. After class, I packed my backpack and headed out. From the front row came Meng Qing's voice. as she placed her arm around Zhou Yan's shoulders. Why does Gu Wanning seem like a completely different person now? Before, whenever she saw Chen Yi, she couldn't take her eyes off him. Zhou Yan sneered. Just putting on an act. Wait a few days, and they'll put it up again. Those who stay silent like this are the best at pretending. Meng Qing didn't respond, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw that when she lowered her head, her phone lit up on the desktop for a moment. It's a private message from Chen Yi. Pretty interesting. In my graduation book from my past life. Chen also wrote a line. You're much better than you think you are. I tore that piece of paper off and kept it in my wallet, carrying it with me for 2 years. Later, I saw exactly the same words in Meng Qing's message book as well. Even the messy handwriting remains the same. The gentleness produced in bulk. In my past life, I paid the full price for it. I'll never buy it again in my life. There were problems with the grouping starting from the second day. There are 42 people in the class, and over 20 of them have signed up for the competition, in groups of 3 or 4, no matter how they're divided. It's enough. But by Wednesday, my team member list was still blank. I've not failed to look for someone. I tried to contact Lu Xiaolu, and she said she was already full. I tried to talk to Zhang Yuhang, but he stammered for a long time and said he had already made a promise to someone else. Even Li Min, who usually sits next to me, avoided making eye contact with me and spoke in a hushed voice. I'm sorry. Wan Ning, Meng Qing still needs more people. Please let me go over there first. Before he could finish speaking, his gaze had already drifted to the front row. Meng Qing was checking the list with a few girls, occasionally glancing over here. Zhou Yan sat beside her, playing with her phone, laughing so hard she didn't even bother to hide it. During lunch break, I lay on my desk but couldn't fall asleep. The voices of several boys in the back row could be heard. Gu Wanning's situation is really too miserable. Meng Qing has already made her intentions clear. Who would dare to reject her? It's obvious which side she's on. Won't Chen do anything about it? Isn't he chasing after her right now? Let's go after it. But we can't afford to offend Meng Qing either. You know what I mean. I buried my face in my arms. In my past life, my math teacher talked to me twice in person, saying that I had the potential to compete in provincial competitions. But at that time, Chen also said he had plans for the summer vacation and wanted me to stay in the city with him. I agree. Sometimes I think that in her past life, Gu Wanning didn't love Chen Yeshua, was afraid of him, afraid that after losing the only person who was willing to look at her, she would be left with nothing at all. On Thursday afternoon, on my way to the office to turn in my homework, I passed by the next classroom and accidentally saw the competition registration forms posted on the wall. Among the numerous names, one was written neatly, Jiang Huai. In the remarks section next to it, it reads, First prize in the provincial physics competition. I turned away and headed straight for the office. After school, I was the only one left in the classroom. The air was stifling, and the deadline for group assignments written by Meng Qing was still visible on the blackboard. The huge red letters were painfully glaring. I spread out the test paper and started answering the questions. The window wasn't closed properly, so the wind kept blowing in intermittently. Footsteps were heard at the door. Chen also leaned against the door frame, hands in his pockets, with a casual smile on his lips. Alone. I heard about the group assignment. How about you join my group? He said those same words in his past life as well. That time, I said okay with a smile, and I was happy for the entire week. No need. His eyebrows moved slightly. No need. No one in the class wants to team up with you. How are you going to sign up alone? I handle my own affairs myself. He stared at me for a few seconds, his expression one of curiosity, as if he was trying to figure something out. Okay. Whatever you want. He's gone. After the footsteps disappeared at the end of the hallway, I sat back down in my chair and let out a long sigh. Then I heard voices from the other end of the hallway. Meng Qing's voice is very low. She's on the phone. The wind brings over fragmented sentences. Just scare her a little. as long as nothing bad happens. I was stunned for a moment. Perhaps those coincidences from my past life weren't actually coincidences at all. The path has changed. But some people's malice won't just disappear out of thin air, just coming around in a different way. That night, I set the phone's recording function to be a quick access option. The losses suffered in past lives will no longer go unproven in this life. Last class on Friday is the deadline for group assignments. Meng Qing stood at the podium, reading out the names one group at a time. By the end, his gaze fell on me. Someone needs to take the registration materials and deposits from the entire class to the old campus. The other groups are all busy preparing for the competitions. Gu Wanning, since you're not part of any team anyway, you should go. Old campus. The area in the old town that's been partially demolished. My fingers are cold. I remember that phone call Meng Qing made in the hallway. As long as nothing goes wrong. I checked the bus schedules in advance and decided to take a longer route, going to the old campus from a different direction. By the time school was over, the heavy rain had been going on for over an hour. I'm waiting for the bus under an umbrella at the school gate. Chen also caught up from behind. Half of her hair was wet from the rain. He said those same words in his past life, but not to me. Every time Meng Qing and I needed him at the same time, he always chose her. No need. His footsteps paused for a moment. The expression on the face was complicated. He stared at me for a long time. The rain grew heavier and heavier. But he remained standing in the rain without an umbrella. Okay. He slung his coat over his shoulder and turned to walk back. After taking 2 steps, she stopped and turned her head to the side. Gu Wanning. Don't regret it. My heart sank. The bus has arrived. I got on the bus and found a seat by the window. Rainwater pooled across the car windows. On my phone's map, I switched the route to the main road. It was a longer detour, taking about half an hour. But the streets were well lit and there was plenty of traffic. Meng Qing smiled naturally when she assigned me this task, as if it was something she did without even thinking. Things that can be assigned it won't wait until there's a downpour. The bus bumped along for 40 minutes. I took a detour around the main road, avoiding all the alleys around the old campus. When we arrived at the station, the rain became even heavier. I walked toward the main gate of the old campus, holding an umbrella. I handed over the necessary documents and the deposit to the teacher on duty, and signed for confirmation. Everything's going well. On the way back, the bus service was suspended due to the heavy rain. I walked home along the main road, but the road is under construction during heavy rain. The median strip extends far out from the middle of the road, reducing the sidewalk to a narrow strip. I walked along beside the construction barriers, with my umbrella flipping over due to the wind. The sound of an engine came from behind. It's a motorcycle. 2, 3. I quickened my pace, but the noises behind me grew louder. Hey! Isn't that her? Chase! I started running. I was forced into a dead end under an abandoned overpass by the construction barriers. The motorcycle stopped behind me. A few people got out of the car and scattered around to block the exit. At first, I thought it was just a robbery for money. When they got closer, I held my backpack tightly to my chest. Inside were 300 yuan in cash and a mobile phone. If they wanted to take it, then they could have it. Someone at the front. Please shine the flashlight over here. The beam of light swept over my completely soaked school uniform, staying on me for 2 seconds. He tilted his flashlight slightly and gave the person next to him a look. The laughter faded away, turning into something else. I understand. They weren't after the money. Or rather, at first, it was, but not anymore. Surrounded on 3 sides, with them on the 4th, even more extreme and dark than in my past life. I wrapped the backpack strap tightly around my wrist and swung it at the face of the nearest person. While he was covering his eyes, I quickly ran towards the bridge pillar, with a concrete wall behind me. I took out the pepper spray. The first one who rushed up got sprayed in the face by me and fell into the puddle. The second one hesitated, In that single second, I grabbed my phone and blindly tapped through the contacts with my thumb. I'm not sure if it was pressed successfully. The screen lit up for a moment. The third person kicked my wrist from the side. The phone flew out and hit the rebar on the ground. The screen shattered and the phone fell into the mud. The spray was knocked off. I picked up a piece of broken rebar at my feet and swung it away. Hit someone's shoulder. He cursed and stepped back. 3 people total. I held on for almost 2 minutes. But weak strength is simply a part of physical reality. The steel rebar pipe was taken away. His arm was twisted backward, and his head hit a concrete pillar. The vision went white. I slid down and sat in the mud. Rain poured into my eyes. And in the blur, I saw the glint of a spring knife. Am I going to die again? Last time I died, at least it was on the road. This time, there isn't even a road. In the mud, not even a decent ending is granted. The moment the spring knife was raised, I heard a sound, very far, through the entire downpour. Someone was shouting something. Perhaps it's an illusion. In my past life, I heard voices before I died too. In the rain, there was a figure running desperately, but the face couldn't be seen. In the mud, the call indicator light of the broken phone kept flashing, so that button press actually worked. I never got an answer. It was as though consciousness was completely pulled out of the body. The sound of heavy rain. Footsteps. That blurred silhouette. Everything plunged into darkness. The white light is blinding. It took me a while to open my eyes. The right forearm was wrapped in gauze. There was a dull, throbbing pain at the back of the head. The rain outside has stopped. The wind that blows in carries the smell of mud. There was a person sitting on the folding chair by the bed. The school uniform was soaked and stuck to the body. The silver-rimmed glasses were askew. A large piece of skin on the back of the right hand was torn, oozing blood, but it wasn't treated. He was leaning back in his chair, with his eyes closed. His breathing was shallow, as if he had just fallen asleep not long ago. It's the Jianghuai region. The guy from the next class whose name was on the competition registration form. I stared at the back of his hand for a long time. The figure running desperately through the rainstorm gradually merged with the person standing before me. It's him. He seemed to sense something. His eyelashes moved, and he opened his eyes. Seeing that I was awake, he sat up straight, took off his glasses, wiped them with the corner of his shirt, and put them back on. Awake. For stitches were needed on the left arm. There was a mild concussion at the back of the head, and the knee was scraped. As he spoke, he poured me a glass of water. No bones were broken. How did you find me? He remained silent for 2 seconds. Your call came through. But no one answered. I heard the sound of the wind and cries for help. So I rode over towards the old campus. In my past life, I died on a rainy street, with no one willing to brave the rain to look for me. How long have you been writing? I don't remember. He glanced down at the wound on the back of his hand. When I arrived, those men were about to run away. I called the police right away and stopped 2 of them. My eyes stung. In my past life, I don't even remember when I saved his account information. On the first day of school, he helped me carry books, registered for classes, and said he'd contact me if he needed anything. At that time, my mind was filled with thoughts of Chinyi. I didn't even say thank you properly. Suddenly, the sound of running footsteps echoed through the hallway. The ward door was pushed open. Chinyi also stood at the door. Her hair was messy. Her school uniform jacket was draped over her arm. And she breathed a little quickly. Seeing that I was awake, he clearly breathed a sigh of relief. Are you okay? He walked over, his voice softening. I just heard about it. It's too late to do anything now. Too late. In his past life, he was always too late. When I had a fever, he was at Mengqing's birthday party. When my mom went to sign the hospital admission paperwork, he was out of town. When he was needed, he just wasn't there. When he didn't want to do anything, he would simply hand over a cup of milk tea with a smile and brush off everything else. I'm fine, I said, looking at the ceiling. Who did this? I sent Wang Kai to. No need. It's already been taken care of. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. The gaze shifted to Jiang Huai. Have you been here the whole time? Jiang Huai stood up and pushed his chair back a little. She's awake. I'll be leaving now. As they passed each other, with one person being half a head taller than the other. Neither of them even glanced at the other. The door closed, and the ward became quiet. Chen also sat down by the bed, his fingers resting on the edge of the bed, hesitating to speak. What did you say yesterday? I stared into his eyes. He was stunned. Don't regret it. I finished for him. At the school gate. That's what you said. His Adam's apple moved slightly. I just said it casually. So you know that Meng Qing asked me to go to the old campus, right? I didn't know she would order someone to take action. His voice grew softer. I originally planned to go with the others. Planning to. Just another plan. Chin has said this word his whole life. In my past life, he planned to stay in the country, bring me to meet his parents, and settle things properly for me. It's all just planning. None of them succeeded. You may go now. Gu Wanning. Chin Yi. I don't want to see you. His hand slid down from the edge of the bed. When I stood up, the phone in my pocket lit up. With the screen facing up, I saw a line of messages. Wang Kai. How are they? I specifically told them to be careful with it. Chin Yi also glanced down, and his expression changed. He quickly flipped the phone around, with the screen facing his palm. It's not what you think. I didn't say anything. He turned around and walked out, much faster than he had come in. The door of the ward closed. In my past life, I believed the phrase "it's not what you think" 1,000 times. I'll never believe it again in my life. After being discharged from the hospital, I took a week off. My mom handled things with the school. She only knows that I was robbed. I didn't tell her anything else. Let the police handle the reporting of crimes. In this lifetime, I don't want to make her go gray overnight again. When I returned to the classroom in the second week, the atmosphere was somewhat awkward. No one mentioned what happened that night. Meng Qing was sitting in the front row. When she saw me come in, her face showed just the right amount of concern. Wan Ning is back. Is she feeling better now? Zhou Yan agreed. Why is public safety so poor these days? It seems like that stormy night had nothing to do with them at all. During the physical education class in the afternoon, Jiang Huai came to me and handed me an application form for joining a cross-class team. We're short one person in our group. I looked at him in confusion. Do the competition rules allow students from different classes to participate? Already asked. It's okay. Both homeroom teachers need to sign. He handed me the pen. Will you sign it? With tears in my eyes, I took the pen and signed my name. Thank you. He put his watch back in his backpack, took a couple of steps, then stopped again. Does your arm still hurt? It doesn't hurt as much anymore. He nodded his head and said nothing else. Only after walking away did I notice that there was a tube of ointment in the side pocket of his backpack. At the hospital, a layer of skin was scraped off the back of his hand. It still hasn't healed properly yet. When worrying about others, people come up with all kinds of excuses. One's own needs are always put last. In her past life, Gu Wanning was just like this too. After school, I was packing my books in the classroom when Li Min suddenly grabbed my sleeve. Wan Ning. With red eyes, she handed over her phone. I didn't dare say anything before, but on the day you were taken to the hospital, You'll have to see for yourself. I'm sorry. Her voice trembled. When I opened it, it was a screenshot of a group chat. The time shows 3 months ago. Group name. Guys, let's do something exciting. The first one was posted by Wang Kai. Chasing the quietest girl in the class. Is one flower enough? A bunch of ha 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 comments and emoji below. Scroll down. Chen also sent a voice message. There's text transcription alongside it. What could possibly be insufficient? It's obvious no one's ever pursued her like this. At least one flower will be hers for sure. At the bottom of the screenshot, someone posted a photo. In the classroom, I was asleep, lying on my desk, with my hair covering half of my face. The photo was taken from the back row towards the front. I recognized that spot. It was Chinye's seat. As the screen dimmed, I saw my own face reflected on the black glass. Didn't cry. I've cried enough in my past life. Back then, I thought he saw the quiet side of me and found me special. It turned out he was only seeing it as a bet. And I don't even have the dignity of making a bet. I'm just a prize that was too easy to win. Too lazy to even show off after winning it. I saved the screenshot and turned off my phone. The sunset outside the window illuminated the end of the hallway, casting long shadows from the trash cans. 3 months ago, I threw his roses into that trash can. Back then, I thought I was throwing away just a single flower. Now I know that what I threw away was a joke. I was the main character of the joke. From start to finish, I didn't go to anyone right away. Classes and lab sessions proceeded as usual during those 3 days. Chin also looked for me in the cafeteria once, just as he picked up the tray and was about to sit down. Jiang Hui happened to be nearby. Just took one look at him. Chin also stood there for 2 seconds, smiled, and then left. No matter how much I refused in the past, those watching always thought I was playing hard to get. But now, someone else is sitting next to me. The nature has changed. On the 4th day, I went to the guidance office with the recording and screenshots. I didn't go to see homeroom teacher Mr. Wu. He's the kind of person who prefers to keep out of trouble and just mediates between everyone. The homeroom teacher I met is Ms. Fong, in her 40s and very efficient at her work. After listening to the recording and reviewing the screenshots, her expression turned serious. Are you sure that's Meng Qing's voice? Confirmed. Okay. I'll handle it. That afternoon, Meng Qing was called out of the classroom. When she went out, she seemed calm, but when she returned, her face was paler, and her eyes were red. That day, after school, Chin also blocked me at the school gate. Did you go to the guidance office? Why didn't you tell me? I stopped to look at him. The sunset shone behind him, exactly the same as when I delivered the flowers the first time. But I'm no longer the person who gets excited just because of backlighting. What? You helped Meng Qing draw the route. A crack appeared on his face. Gu Wanning. Listen to my explanation. I did tell her that you might take the main road, but I thought it was just a way to scare you a little. I planned to go get you myself, but the roads were blocked that day. The road is blocked. I repeated these 3 words. In my past life, I gave up my spot for admission to ensure he could go. He said, "What am I supposed to do without you?" I turned down a job offer from another province for him. He said, "It's too far and inconvenient." The underlying logic behind all these choices is this. He's spoken up. So I assume he cares equally in return. But he couldn't even get past a single blocked road. You don't need to explain. I know what you really mean. You want to scare me into begging you for help. You graciously accept me, and I look at you with admiration in my eyes. Am I right? He stared at me, completely shocked, and took a few steps back. For the first time, I saw something resembling shame on his face. I'm sorry. Your apologies aren't worth anything. I walked past him and headed to the bus stop alone. The next day, a notice of punishment was posted on the bulletin board. Class leader Meng Qing's position was revoked. No specific reason was given, just one line. Improper organizational behavior resulted in physical harm to students, but high school students spread information 10 times faster than notices. By noon, the whole grade knew. Meng Qing sat in her seat all day without lifting her head. Zhou Yan cowered in the corner, too afraid to speak to her. Meng Qing remained silent for 3 days. On the 4th day, she appeared in front of my desk. No makeup, hair tied up casually, with dark circles under the eyes. Wan Ning, can we talk? Everyone in the classroom turned their gaze toward him. I closed the pen cap. Speak. Not here. Outside, at the end of the hallway, the sunlight shone on the railing, making the metal quite hot to the touch. She leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her voice several degrees lower than usual. I know you don't believe me, but what happened that day got out of control. I just wanted someone to stop you, to scare you a little. I never intended to use a knife. What she said was out of control. Not a mistake. At the graduation party from my past life, someone who had drunk too much mentioned, it must have been terrible for Gu Wanning during those times when she was isolated. Meng Qing held her cup and smiled. Oh. Those are just silly games between girls. Wan Ning wouldn't take it seriously. Right. She looked at me, waiting for me to cooperate. I nodded with a smile. I'm not going to agree anymore in this lifetime. Meng Qing. You're dealing with people from the streets. 3 adult men surrounding a high school girl. And they even have spring knives with them. Her eyelashes trembled slightly. You know very well whether that's just meant to scare me or not. I really didn't expect it to turn out that way. What are you thinking? That I'd run back to school covered in mud, crying and begging you to let me go. And then you tell Chinyi that she's so fragile that without you, she's nothing. Her face turned pale. I guessed correctly. There was a long silence. She clutched the cuffs of her school uniform, her lips moving slightly. What she finally said surprised me. You know, I've never liked Chinyi at all. I know. She was stunned. What you like is the idea that the school's most popular guy should choose you. The wind blew through the hallway. A strand of her hair blew loose and covered her eyes. You hate me because even a transparent person rejected him. You feel embarrassed. She didn't say anything, but her eyes turned red. It's the humiliation of having the last layer of skin stripped off. I can't revoke the punishment, but on the police's end, as long as those people stop coming after me, I won't add your name to the list. She suddenly raised her head. Why? Because I don't want to waste any more time on you. I turned around and walked back. Too faint, indistinct words came from behind. Thank you. I didn't look back. When I returned to the classroom, Chinyi was standing next to my seat, holding a piece of paper in my hand. The school imposed a penalty, but this isn't just Meng Qing's problem. He handed over that piece of paper. I've written a statement explaining the situation and plan to submit it to the school administration. I'll take full responsibility for what's my fault. I didn't answer. Have you thought it through? Once you hand this in, you'll also lose your recommendation for admission. I know. His voice was very soft. After saying those 2 words, he fell into a long silence. Then he asked a question he had never asked in either his past or present lives. Gu Wanning, have you ever truly liked me? I looked out the window. The cicadas were making such a loud noise that it seemed like they might tear off the roof. Just like the day I handed her flowers in the hallway. Once liked. His eyes lit up for a moment. But that was in the past. The light went out. He nodded, folded the explanation together and placed it on the corner of my desk, then left. The next day, another announcement appeared on the bulletin board. Chinye's qualification for direct entry into the provincial competition has been revoked. That day after school, I was working on problems in the lab. Jiang Hui was sitting across from me, organizing data. Did you see what was posted on the bulletin board? He didn't look up. He submitted a written explanation on his own initiative. I just said and said nothing else. Jiang Hui flipped through a page of documents and paused for a few seconds. The preliminary list for the provincial competition is out. Our team has made it through. I was momentarily stunned. Then I laughed. This seems to be the first time I've laughed since being reborn. He saw it. He pushed his glasses up, lowered his head, and his ears turned slightly red. The provincial competition is held in a neighboring city. Over 3 days and 2 nights. The night before departure, Chen also appeared at the school gate. He stood quietly beside the bench by the flower bed. When he saw me coming out with Jiang Hui, his gaze lingered on the distance between us for 2 seconds. Gu Wanning. Can we talk for a moment? Jiang Hui glanced at me, and I nodded. He said, I'll wait for you at the station. and walked away. The streetlights and the flower bed have just come on. Chin also handed over an object. It's a letter filled with words. I flipped it over to take a look. It's clearly recorded there, item by item. Starting from the day the flowers were delivered through the hallway. When did I make a bet with someone? When did I start finding it interesting? When did I tell Meng Qing that I might take the main road? It wasn't until I heard that things had gotten out of control and I was in the hospital that I really panicked. I folded the paper properly. His Adam's apple moved slightly. I'm not writing this to defend myself. I just want you to know that although every step was my choice, the end result wasn't what I wanted at all. I looked up at him. Chin also felt a bit awkward. I won't come to you again. The streetlight cast a very long shadow of him. That flower, he suddenly said. The bet at that time was a barbecue. If you accept the flowers and talk to me, I win a barbecue. I know. But when I saw you coming out of the hallway, you had your head down, your hair covering your face, and you walked very slowly. I bought that flower casually, but by the time I reached you, my palms were covered in sweat. He took a deep breath. A bet on a barbecue. My hands were shaking with nervousness as I held that flower. I knew something was wrong right then. He smiled. It's not like the kind of laughter you hear in the school uniform hallway. The sense of control is gone. What's left is nothing but the raw, unrefined essence that lies beneath the pride that's been stripped away. The cicadas stopped singing. Summer is almost over. Good luck in the match, he said. Then he left, never looking back. I stood by the flower bed, unfolded the paper, and read it again. The gaze fell below the last line of text. There's also a line of smaller text, as if it was written, then erased, and written again. Tears welled up instantly. The lighting was already dim, so now it was even harder to see anything. When they arrived at the bus stop, Jiang Hui was waiting on the bench. Let's go. He stood up and took the heaviest document bag from my hands. The car is here. I was leaning against the window, with Jiang Hui sitting next to me. The streetlights outside the window faded away one by one. You just cried. He didn't turn his head, his voice very soft. I touched my facet was dry. No. He didn't expose them. After 2 more stops, I suddenly asked, Jiang Hui, when did you start treating me differently? The carriage jolted slightly, and he steadied the strap that had slipped off my shoulder. When you were in freshman year of high school, you gave me a pack of tissues. It took me a few seconds to remember. Someone spilled dirty water on his chair, and everyone around watched in amusement. I happened to pass by, so I left a pack of tissues on his desk. I had almost forgotten. I remember. You're the only one who didn't ask who I had upset, and the only one who didn't laugh along. He tapped his fingers gently on his knee. I think this person is similar to me. The bus has arrived at the stop. We got off the bus. The wind in autumn has turned cool. He walked on my right, with his backpack blocking the wind. Gu Wanning. I need to tell you something after the game. What is it? Let's talk after the game. 1 second place in the provincial competition. It's not the best outcome, but it's money I earned myself. On the day I returned to school, I passed by the bulletin board. Next to the list of winners in the provincial competition, there was a notice regarding recommended admissions. Chin Ye's name isn't on the list anymore. I heard he plans to take the exams on his own. His goal is still that same university, but the path to get there has become longer. As time goes by, autumn gives way to winter. It snowed heavily on the day the final exams ended. The entire playground was covered in white snow, which made a crunching sound underfoot. I walked out with my report card. 9th in the grade, up by over 60 places from last semester. By the time school was over, it was completely dark. The streetlights illuminated the snow, casting a blinding light. Jiang Hui stood under the ginkgo tree at the school gate. The leaves have all fallen, and the branches are covered with snow. The white breath he exhaled dispersed under the streetlight. Speak. He looked at me. What? You said you'd tell me something after the competition. It's been 2 months since the provincial competition. He froze for a moment, then smiled downward. I've never seen him smile like that before. The tension around the corners of the mouth was gone, and the entire face appeared more relaxed. Gu Wanning. I've liked you since a long time ago. Snow fell on his shoulders, and his silver-rimmed glasses fogged over. He took off his glasses, without the lenses blocking them. His eyes were much clearer than usual. You don't have to answer me now. You can take as much time as you need to think. He put his glasses back on, but the lenses were even more blurred now. I just feel that if I don't say it now, it won't be like me anymore. The snow kept falling heavier and heavier. I didn't say yes, nor did I say no. What I'm saying is, Jianghuai, there are still some small items I need to tidy up. Give me some time. We walked side by side in the snow for a while, arrived at a fork in the road. He goes left. I go right. I turned around before we parted. Jianghuai. Shall we have breakfast together tomorrow? The cafeteria has a new hot soy milk. He laughed again, but didn't lower his head this time. Okay. When I got home that day, I went through my school bag. Chinye's paper is still in the interlayer. I took one last look. Later on. It wasn't just a bet. I really liked you. I know. But some things come too late. By the time it arrived, I wasn't anymore in that place. I folded that piece of paper up and put it at the very bottom of the cabinet drawer. I didn't throw it. It has nothing to do with whether one loves or not. It's because that path truly existed once. It taught me what it feels like to be in pain. And it also taught me what worth it really means. The snow outside the window has stopped. I turned to a new page in my diary and wrote a line. After winter comes spring. In my past life, I died on a rainy day. The rain of this lifetime has long stopped. The full text is complete.